And it should be, everybody should be able to turn off their, there you go, there you go, you're good.
Excellent. Thank you, Cecil.
Sorry about that, I got stuck in traffic. You're good to go. I'll go ahead and post this online as well.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Cecil.
Okay, you're welcome.
We're missing two of our property owners.
I see that.
Got 204 Alice, Mr. Kovats here.
No, it's 5 o'clock, so I guess we should get started.
Hey, Daniel, would you mind making me into the host so I can broadcast?
Sure. You know, Cecil, I actually don't see you listed as a panelist or an attendee.
You'll see.
Oh,
I'll
Kareem.
rename myself. There's two Kareems. I'll rename myself and then you can do it.
Gotcha. There you go.
Just check my email, make sure I hadn't heard from anybody.
All right,
There you
Daniel.
go.
Okay, recording. Should we get going?
Let's get going.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And as always, we have a little technical fun before we start a meeting. Welcome, COVID. I'd like to call the Historic Preservation Board meeting of June 23rd to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Member Blake. Blake, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm here.
Mr. Walter,
Here.
Mayor Folks.
Here. Got a quorum, barely. So thank you everyone for being here. Are there any agenda modifications or postponements?
There are not.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. So you have before you the minutes of our May 26th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or additions?
No,
I have none.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 26, 2021.
excellent.
I
Do I have
will
a
second
second?
that.
All right, can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Blake,
Yes,
Walter,
Yes,
Mayor Folks.
Yes. All right, fantastic. Thank you again for those great minutes. They're always fun to read them and see all the things we said. Or communications, this portion for the meeting is reserved for individuals who wish to address the board on matters of community interest not listed on the agenda. Is there anyone who has anything not on the agenda from the public? All right, seeing none. Board and staff announcements.
I would like to introduce our new director, Rob Eastwood. He started with the city just about 3 weeks ago. I believe he is online. There we go.
Excellent.
all right.
welcome.
Hi. Nice to
Welcome.
meet you.
We'll come
Forward to
meet you
working
face
with
to face someday.
Hey, it'll happen. At least this is nice at least to see in this setting. So,
Exactly.
Well, we're glad to have you on board. We appreciate the role that you have and the fact that you oversee so many parts. We're one part of a larger development in the city. So it's great. I know you can't always attend our meetings, but it's great when you can, and appreciate you being here for this one.
thank you very much. And I'll just say it's a very important part that you attend to. So,
Thank you. Any other board or staff announcements?
I have one. I just wanted to let everybody know that I inspected and cleaned all 15 of the historic plaques, and they're all hanging in there really well. So that's it.
Thank you, Susan. That's wonderful.
All right, thank you.
Great. Seeing no other announcements, we'll move on to our item number 2, which is the continued public hearing from our Mills Act contract applications. I know we have, at our last meeting, we were clarified criteria and weighting, and I know we had a lot of new information from applicants, so that we want to make sure that we took all that into account and made sure we're being very thorough and thoughtful with all of our applicants. I know we have some news on that. So Daniel, I'll turn it over to you for the staff report and any updates.
Sure, thank you. So just in terms of updates, we did get a formal request from the homeowner 51 Alice Avenue to withdraw his application. So we have processed that paperwork. So he will be receiving a partial refund of fees. So he now is formally out of contention. He had also not previously provided the additional material, so he had effectively been out of contention regardless, but this formalizes that action. So this hearing is the continued public hearing from last meeting on May 26th. The board provided direction to the homeowners to revise their proposed schedule and plan spreadsheets. That's the 10-year proposed work plan for each Mills Act application. The board wanted to really focus the Mills Act applications, given that there is a limited number of them, to those projects that would really be necessary to preserve these historic buildings. And so as such, the board directed the applicants to exclude HVAC system work, fence construction and repairs, interior repainting, security systems, lighting systems, kitchen and bathroom models, hardware floor installations, and general ongoing maintenance. Based on that feedback, the 3 homeowners submitted those revised 10-year work plans, and those are included in your agenda package. We also prepared an updated comparison table based on those revised spreadsheets that includes the aggregate spending that's identified, as well as the cost relative to the property tax savings over a 10-year window. So at this point, the board should have enough information to provide a recommendation to the City Council. So as a reminder, since there are only 2 available contract requests and 3 applicants, the board does need to prioritize and rank those 3 applications such that the 2 highest ranked would be the applications recommended for approval to the council, and the 3rd by default would be recommended for denial. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Now I know we already, held the public hearing and had the applicant speak, and I know we don't want to be, we understand, I think, these applications very well now. But I do know that we have some of the applicants here, and if there are any, very brief, 5 minutes or less comments that you'd like to make at this meeting, because of all our discussion last one, I want to give the applicants that opportunity, and then we'll take it back to the board to deliberate.
So Chair, folks, if you can formally open the public hearing so that they can
formally open the public hearing. Sorry, I thought it was continued, so it was still open. I didn't know it was like
formalities.
All right, so now we're open. So I guess I'll just, in the interest of organization, call on, in the order I have them here. So any comments from the owners at 73rd South First Street?
Here, folks, only one of the owners is here today.
Oh, I can't see them all. Okay.
And Chair, folks, actually, I do have an email from Doug Fournay. It looks like he's having some trouble getting in. I'm going to send him a general link so that he can log in, and then we can promote him to a panelist. So if you just give me one moment, I can do that.
All right.
But I believe you can let the other homeowners can, I guess, begin speaking. We do have the homeowners for 204 Alice Avenue already online.
Perfect. All right, 204 Alice. I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon.
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
We can.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, so there's not much to add to anything what we submitted. Just want to thank the board looking over this and give us the opportunity to even be here and just see what comes out.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for being here again. Appreciate all the time. Sorry this is taking a while. Great. And so let's go now to, do we have anyone else on?
as of-
81 Alice.
Not seen Doug yet.
Okay.
I just pressed send on that email about 30 seconds ago. So it might take a moment if you want to
Sure.
give them a second.
And we don't have 73 South First.
I also sent a reminder to Chung as well.
Okay. I'll wait a moment and thanks, Daniel and team, for all the updated work. I think it was really helpful to have all the updated data. So I think it made it a lot easier, at least for me, to navigate. So thanks for doing that.
Looks okay. Looks like we have one new attendee. Okay, it's Cecil. If you're still there, can you promote Chung Chan to a panelist?
Will do. Okay, he's promoted. Well, let me see. Yes.
Great.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
And Cecil, apologies. Also, if you can promote Doug as well.
Okay, we'll do that as well.
Well, we've got Mr. Chan, and thank you for joining us. I'm sorry for our technical issues. We were just allowing the applicants just a few minutes. I know we've gone over in depth your application last month, but I know since we're continuing this hearing, wanted to give each person, if they have anything else to add, just a couple of minutes just to chime in if there's anything you have to add to your application.
No, I'm actually here just to see if there's any questions that I can answer for you guys.
Okay, great. That's great. No, I appreciate that. All right, and there we go. And we have Mr. Fournier coming on.
So I've allowed Doug to talk and I've invited him as a panelist, but he doesn't seem to be accepting that. So.
Okay, I see him, but
I should still be able
Can
to
you guys
hear
hear
us.
me?
Hi, Doug. Yes, I believe we can hear you.
Sorry, I think I may have clicked the wrong button. I'm on vacation and I'm having a hard time connecting, so I apologize.
we can hear you, and we just wanted to give, if there was any, I know we had a lengthy public hearing last meeting, so just wanted to give you a couple of minutes if there was anything new that you wanted to add to your application. If not, we'll just move forward, but we wanted to give that opportunity at the outset here.
Yeah, nothing new. I'm just excited for you guys to consider our property, and I tried to be thorough to fill in the spreadsheet as best I could as we're trying to make a fair comparison. And I just am thrilled to be on a historic street in a historic city. And I know most of the money that's been spent's behind me, but I think the specific uniqueness of the most compelling argument I can give to the wear and tear that is a little bit unique. Well, that is unique to our home as far as things that will be ongoing and moving forward. So no eaves to protect all those wooden windows and doors and that flat roof that nobody seems to be a fan of. So that's really it. No further mathematical or monetary details to add.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So with that, and for those of you who might have joined late, we also are joined by our new Director of Planning, Rob Eastwood. So we appreciate him being here. And obviously it's helpful to have him here since he'll be there with the council as well. So let's bring it back to the board. I know that this is at least in my time on the board, the first time that we've had more applicants than we've had the ability to provide Mills Acts. And I have a couple of thoughts on that, but I'll save those for later in our discussions. So we have before us, again, the detailed criteria. We have all of the financial documentation. We have waiting that we had agreed upon previously to these applications coming forward before us. So I turn it over to board members for discussion.
You want to start, Susan? You want me to go? You're muted.
I'm sorry. Are my wind chimes bothering anybody? Is that bothering anybody? I can close the door if it's bothering you. Okay.
No, it's very nice and holistic.
It's really
The
working.
calming effect.
Okay, good. You breathe deep. I don't have any questions. I think that all of the applicants provided a significant amount of information, and between that and Daniel's work, that I am ready to make a recommendation, but I don't know what the process is to do that. So.
Yeah, I was going to kind of launch right into, I again, thank you applicants for updating your documents and giving us all the information that we could make a selection here. I went through everything, and based on what I've received, I've already ranked them. So I'm going to jump right into it. That 73rd South First Street, I had them as number 1, 204 Alice number 2, and 81 Alice Avenue is number 3 as my ranking. And so I throw it out there to other board members to let me know what they have in their thinking and their process, so we can talk about this.
All right, I can go ahead and give you my rankings.
Sure.
I came out with 73 South First as number 1, and 81 Alice Avenue is number 2, and 204 Alice Avenue is number 3.
Great. And I think we should talk a little bit about them. So again, I thought all the projects were very good. And in fact, I thought all 4 were very good. I'm sorry that we lost one. Part of a learning curve on the Mills Act is a lot of our applicants, just like a lot of us do in the city, spend a lot of time and money on our houses and maybe not aware of the Mills Act. And so they've kind of done the improvements prior to to submitting, which is too bad, because it's right. A lot of that work doesn't get counted. I think that may be the case with 51 Alice, but it's great that we have so many homeowners who are willing to keep their properties up. I think, when we look at the criteria for the benefits to the public and the public visibility to projects, Alice Avenue as a street itself is a great, and we have that wonderful self-guided tour, is a great resource for the city. But that, I was able to look in more depth at the 73 South First Street property, and you really realize that about 80% of it is visible from the street at some point, because it's on a corner in it, right, and it's right there across from the water tower. And also I think in terms of the cost of the work that's being done, right, it far outweighs the tax savings, and I think those are projects that I think as a city we should be encouraging. We want everyone to improve their houses, but frankly, where we're only giving a partial benefit, I think that shows even higher dedication, which is why I ranked it a little bit higher. So I think we are all in agreement on 73rd South First Street as kind of a top priority project. Again, among all projects that if we had 3 Mills Acts, this would be a very easy meeting to So I guess on the other two, obviously we have, I did not have a strong, for me, they were weighed just about equally. They both have a lot of positives in them. They both have about the same kind of cost versus cost recovery. They're different numbers, but in terms of a percentage, they're within 7%. They're both on the same street, so I mean they're really they're very different houses and different types of maintenance structures, as every house is. But they're very, I mean, it's just structurally they're very different houses. So I didn't I didn't have kind of one ranked above the other, which makes it a little more complicated for us. Now, one, because I like to be creative or difficult, depending on how you look at it. One question that I would put out both to staff and to the board is, we have 2 Mills Acts, we don't have a third. We have two projects that I think are within, within reasonable assertion, both kind of like in terms of the benefits to the community and the benefits to the city. Would it be possible, since all we do is recommend things, the council decides things, would it be possible for us, and another thought on this is that both projects basically in a 10-year savings, they basically recover the entire cost of the improvements, if not more, from the tax benefit. Now, again, as we have learned in all our studies of Mills Acts, different cities do things different ways, and there is not a hard and fast rule on how we do it, which is why we're looking at kind of just amending these. But one suggestion I had, and you guys can tell me if this would make any sense or not, would be to grant, given the amount of work that has to be done on 73rd South First Street, and it's going to be done, to grant a normal Mills Act, 10-year Mills Act, which is right kind of evergreen on that project, and suggest to the council, because the council has the ability to add additional Mills Acts if they so choose, to add send a recommendation to them that between 204 Alice and 81 Alice, that they both be granted a 10-year Mills Act, which would cause the city to create an additional Mills Act, but that each one is a 10-year limit. So that, as Daniel has explained to us before, day one of their Mills Act, they get a letter canceling it after 10 years. So the net of it would be they would have a 10-year benefit. They would recover more than the cost of these initial repairs that are in their Mills Act contract, but that unless they were coming back with a new proposal, it would not be a Mills Act that would sit in perpetuity. So if I think the rationale that I would give the council is, hey, this is a different kinds of Mills Act. It has different costs to the city. It is a 10-year limit. And these are two very good projects that the city should be supporting. And by the way, most of the tax savings don't accrue to the city. The city doesn't pay it. It's the county and the state that pays it. So what do you think about that proposal? And feel free to tell me if it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I would say that the council, I mean, understanding they can always change their mind, of course. As currently structured, the Mills Act program is limited to 10. So I think it's still most appropriate for the formal board recommendation to be for 2 contracts. But we can certainly convey in the report, and of course, as we picked up in the minutes as well, that the board would be supportive of the third applicant also having their request approved, should the council be willing, since, as you did rightfully note, it is a council choice to limit it to 10. It is not anything that's codified in the city zoning code. It is effectively a council decision, and they can change their mind as they feel appropriate. But I think it's still best that the recommendation from the board is only for 2.
And I would jump in and go so far as saying, if we're going to make a recommendation, that we should recommend to include 2 more to capture 51. because originally there was 4 applicants, or yeah, 4 applicants for 2 spots. And if we're just going to ask for 1 more for 3, I feel like 51 is losing out. And albeit they pulled their application, but I'm sure they pulled it because of the process that we're going through, that they were not aware of, that this is what we were doing in our spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. And when we talked last week, we said we would rather have all 4 Mills Act available. So if we want to go this way, I agree with Daniel, we need to pick 2, but I think we should go to the council saying, here's the 2, plus we would like to request 2 more to be added so that we can have the other 2 applicants be part of the process.
Okay, understood. I guess for me, because we've talked about, you know, we can recommend any, you know, we can recommend a term to the Mills Act. And I'm a firm believer that this problem exists because we give out a Mills Act. We're not following up as much as we could. And so you could have your neighbor next door who has a massive tax benefit and you're spending the same amount on your house and you don't have that tax benefit. And to me, that's just unfair. And because we have so few, you know, from the beginning of us deliberating this issue, I've been a fan of limiting them in time, because the idea is if they come back to the pool, then that house next, so that one neighbor has 10 years of great tax benefit to really help support and subsidize the you know, his or her house. But because it's coming back, then it's back in the pool to give to somebody else, right? Whereas if the council says no to any more Mills Acts and we give out 2 now, those other applicants will never in their lifetime see another Mills Act coming before them to apply for. Right, so I'm a firm believer in, especially where all the numbers we have show that it basically, you know, it is more than paying for the repairs. That seems to me to be a really good deal for a homeowner, right? And it allows you to share that benefit with another home. Now, all historic homes always have large projects and upkeep and maintenance, but I think the idea for me is, unless we are going to have significantly a large number, because we have so many historic homes in town that really need repair, I'd much rather these things be, you know, kind of more nimble than just kind of, again, we give them out and then the homeowners that didn't get it today wait 40 years before they get another one.
Right, but we've been talking about limiting all of them from here to future, right, whether this grouping or, you know, if we get new grouping in the future, that we said that we would always wanted to go back to the council suggesting that they all are only 10 years minimum, right, so that we have the ability to control, also forces the owner to spend the time and do everything in a 10-year block, not in a 40-year block, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so if we do these 2 now and say these 2 here, day 1, the city sends out the notice that your contract will be for 10 years and 10 years only, then the other 2 applicants and future applicants are going to have to wait 10 years for everybody, because we haven't notified the other previous 8 owners right now that I'm aware of, that we haven't notified them that their contract is ending in 10 years. So if we go across the board, we're going to wait 10 years for all 10 applicants to be coming back to the pool. But what I don't know is that in 10 years, whether or not council is going to allow those ones to come back in the pool and we start over. They may change their mind in the future and say, no, we're not going to have that come in. So there's, you know, again, it's like taxes. You plan for the future, hoping for the best, but you don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I'm thinking if we try to ask for the 2 additional ones, we haven't had that many people apply. A lot of cities that do have the Mills Act, they have 20, 30, 50 Mills Acts. And I don't want us to also shortchange or the city in our ability to have more homes, because we keep saying we only have 100 and some odd houses that are the historic component. And we have a very small ratio of Mills Acts to that. So I'd rather try to capture more than we can. Now, again, it's all predicated on city council approving it. And with the budget issues, they may not approve the next 2 this year. It may be another year or 2 years before that, that they award 2 more contracts. But that's a little closer than 10 years trying to capture these houses if possible. My thoughts.
And my understanding, I could get these numbers wrong, but that the actual cost of the city is very little, right? It's because the city doesn't get that much of the property tax to begin with, but
Correct.
Yeah.
yeah, so it really is, you know,
That is-
cities
that is
benefiting,
correct.
homeowners are benefiting, and the county and the state are paying for it. All right, well, so I mean, I agree. I'm fine with the suggesting that they all be 10 because, again, the idea isn't that we're punishing homeowners. We're just saying, hey, you get 10 years of tax benefit and you can always reapply to extend that, but you have to show more work that you're going to do in your house, which for most of these houses, that shouldn't be that hard a hill to climb. I guess the question for the two of you is there something within, I mean, you've ranked the Alice properties in different orders. Is there anything that you'd want to share that from your criteria that you think stands one out versus the other? Because I've been having a hard time. Again, for me, there really are different properties. So it's really comparing an apple to an orange. And it's kind of like, do you like oranges or apples?
Yeah, I mean, the 204 and 81, in terms of my scoring and going through it, they were like 1 point apart.
Yep.
So
Same here.
it's not like I said, these are all worthy homes. And so by picking one over the other doesn't mean that the third is the worst. It just means that based on criteria and based on what we see, the second winner has something a little bit different, unique. And primarily what I looked at the list of projects they were doing, the dollar value that they were spending. And that's how I came up with that number 204, Alice, ranked higher than 81. They had things in there that I saw that was just going to happen, that was going to make criteria 1 and 2 give them a little bit extra.
Okay, that's helpful. Susan, any thoughts on that?
Yes, it was difficult to do this. They are all three of them are very worthy projects. And I was 1 point difference between number 2 and number 3. And my thought is that when we take our recommendations to council, that included in it, that we would make a case for getting at least 2 more Mills Acts, so that the third person that didn't get it could immediately apply for it. And I am in support of a sunset date for the Mills Act, 10 years. And I will share more about that later on after we close the discussion.
Okay. All right, well, Daniel didn't like my idea of forcing the council to make a tough choice. So I will defer to him since, I mean, I guess I would say, I mean, yes, I think we should do all of those things. I think we should mention the strength of the projects, put a ranking of them, and I don't think we would say we recommend that these 2 get a Mills Act, a 10-year Mills Act, and this one doesn't. I think we recommend this is the ranking of how we see them, right? That they're all deserving of Mills Act, and this is the ranking, and it's the council that limits the number. So if they're only giving 2, then they give 2. If they, decide to extend it, they, I don't think, I definitely don't want to send a signal that there's one of these projects that's not worthy, because I don't think that's fair.
Okay. So not to put you on the spot.
Put me on the spot. Somebody has to make a motion. So
Exactly. Well,
you on the spot.
You need to let us know what is your thinking for your number 2, so we have something to discuss. To see what we're going to recommend.
I think, I mean, given what you guys have talked about, the total value and expense, right? I mean, again, they're very different projects, but I think from a community benefit, right, the higher dollar amount probably, you know, that hypothetically is going to be a larger benefit because that's going to be harder for a homeowner to do, right? The larger the number is, just the harder it is to do on your own without some support. So I guess given that, I would put 204, if I had a gun to my head, I'd put 204 ranked slightly ahead of 81.
So based on that, Susan, since you were opposite of 2 and 3, are you opposed to going 204 to 81, or is there something that compelled you to go 81 first, number 2, and 204 last, third, that you want to bring so we can talk about it?
I just looked at the work that needed to be done on the roof of 81 and was concerned that that was something that really caught my attention right away. 204 has a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of them are interior, but there are also health and safety issues with the mold and the dry rot. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. I want to give all 3 of them the Mills Act.
Well, I don't. If Daniel, can we pull a slight coup with the council and say that, hey, we have an idea of who we'd like is 1 and 2, but we don't want to give them, we want all 3. Council, can you please award all 3 and add 1 more, at least now we want 1 more? I mean, I don't know if that will go over well, if they'll feel like we're kind of forcing their hand.
It looks like the director has some thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I'm just listening in, and Daniel's briefed me on this. I thought the chair, Mr. Folks, you articulated very well. I hear the struggle. I have my own philosophies on this, that, you know, Mills Act should be a bit more open and lighter touch and generally provide benefit without too much scrutiny. But putting that aside, I think giving them, I mean, you put a lot of thought into the rankings, so giving them your thought on being transparent on the rankings, I think is important. Number 1. Number 2, you know, well able to convey the intention of this board that they'd like to have all 3 listed, and then let the council go with it there. I mean, I think if they're not open to extending and opening the program, they'd like to probably hear from you on which, you know, if it had to come down to it, right, 2 out of 3 would be listed. But I think we, you know, between Daniel and I, we can convey the intent of this board to have all 3 listed. If I heard right, that's what was being recommended. So that's what I'm hearing. And if that helps advise the motion that goes on to the council.
So we can certainly structure the resolution such that it's not so much a recommendation for 2, but simply a ranking of all 3 in a certain order, understanding that the council would naturally choose the top 2, and if they opted, they could choose an 11th from the 3rd ranked, so that it's clear that you're not recommending denial of the 3rd. It just happens to be that it's ranked as the 3rd.
Correct. That works.
You would still need to make a motion and agree on the specific order of the ranking.
Correct. So that'd be first question between Mike and Susan. Are we in agreement with 1, 2, 3 being 73 first, then 204, Alice, and 81, Alice? Are you okay with that change, Susan, or would you want to?
Yeah, that isn't the way I ranked it, but I'll go with this because I am very comfortable with making a case to the council about why all 3 should get it. So.
Okay. You concur, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we need to make a motion. And I can try one. Or actually, are we still in the public hearing that we have to exit, or did we?
I believe that's right. We need, we do need to close public hearing.
So
Apologies.
we'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
It's kind of leaving it open in case we have questions for people. All right, close the public hearing. We brought back to the council. We kind of already did that, but we'll officially do it now. Seeing no other discussion, happy to entertain a motion.
All right, I will pull up this and I will try my best here. Let's see here.
It's attachment 1.
Sorry, I got my laptop. It's very small. I can't read. Quick hearings. Oh, that wasn't it. See, item 2. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a recommendation that we approve. Oh, that's not it. Sorry, I'm still.
Yeah, I would suppose
Right.
that probably the written materials are not a good starting point since your motion is going to be a bit different than the staff recommendation.
Yeah.
I think maybe something more along the lines that a motion ranking the Mills Act applications in a certain order for consideration by the city council. And then we can take care of the rest.
Okay. So yeah, so I'll make a motion that we consider the ranking of the 3 applicants as number 1, 71st South 73rd South 1st Street. Number 2 is 204 Alice Avenue. Number 3, 81 Alice Avenue, with the caveat that we are recommending to the council that all 3 are awarded a Mills Act.
Or
For
you're going to give it, are you?
for a 10-year for a 10-year duration. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? Daniel, do you have what you need on the motion?
Yes, we can work with that.
Okay, thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Board member,
I didn't hear you.
member Blake,
Yes.
Walter,
Aye.
your folks,
Aye. All
Reason-
right.
with the absence of member Moore.
Thank you. That passes. Thank you, applicants, for being with us and for all of your patience and work on your beautiful houses. And we will hopefully see what happens at council. Hopefully good news for everyone if we can work some magic. So thank you for being with us. That moves us out of our public hearing and into our old business, which, surprise, surprise, is our Mills Act Ad Hoc Subcommittee report and program update.
You gonna jump in, Susan?
Yeah. I wanted to let the board and staff know that I spoke to council member Susan Landry on May 31st, and I gave her a recap of our May 26th Historic Preservation Board meeting and the unusual situation with which we were dealing. We had, at that time, 4 good Mills Act applications come before us, and we only had 2 Mills Act contracts available. I then spoke to Mayor Liz Gibbons on June 8th and shared the same information. Based on those conversations, I contacted Finance Director Will Fuentes and asked him what percentage of the property tax does the city of Campbell receive? And he replied via email saying about 14% with any adjustments for special district assessments and fees. I contacted the county assessor's office to ask if a sunset date could be placed on the Mills Act, and staff indicated that they're not involved in how various cities in the county structure their Mills Act programs. My next step is I will contact the state historian to see if there's any glitches involved in us having a 10-year sunset date on the Mills Acts.
Great. That's a lot of work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I remember from that seminar that we had that there were other cities that had limits. So I think
Yes.
that the states come back and say, well, that's up to you guys.
And if I can add, I mean, that's certainly a discussion point we can bring up with the council as part of their consideration of these applications as a kind of a sidebar issue. I think staff would probably want direct council feedback before initiating a notice of non-renewal.
And then we also, I think at the last meeting, we were talking about the council wanted us to put a kind of a hold on our further investigation into the future Mills Act modification contracts. And we wanted to find out, Daniel, if Susan and I can still continue doing our research so that when the city council is okay with us bringing it back to the board, that we at least have done more of our homework and have everything ready so that we don't lose our momentum. And frankly, I don't forget things as time goes on. I'd like to have it all in front of us ready. So I wasn't sure if that's still okay if we do that obviously on our own time to do that.
Sure, let's bring in the director. So Rob, I think we briefly discussed this earlier. Do you have any thoughts on the two board members acting independently on their own research, absent the Mills Act update being a formal work plan item?
Well, appreciate the interest and passion. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain, you doing your own research on your own time. There's no way I can tell you what not to do. If you're doing it in the capacity as a commissioner, of course, generally it's within the work plan adopted, right? I mean, I just think at some point you do a fair amount of research, you inform the city council, and they give direction on sort of policy direction or program. So I don't, from what I had heard, so I think if I get it right, Daniel, so going to the council will be the recommended Mills Act contracts, right? Number one. Number two, I think it's obvious this board's identified, hey, it's there's good reason and recommendation to maybe consider some changes to the program. And here's a bunch of information that may help the council, and the staff can provide that in considering if that's something what they want to entertain. So I guess my qualified answer is, doing more research beyond that might do well to wait until that decision's made by the council before doing a lot more research beyond that. So that helps. If I'm a little bit missing the mark here, let me know, Daniel, or board members here. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what we understood is that the research and the recommended changes to the Mills Act program, that part to come to the board, city council, was to be put on hold. So we weren't planning on having anything to come to the next board meeting along with these current Mills Act, but we were still trying to just do our due diligence homework to come up with our recommendations that would be provided at some time at the city council, because they also wanted us to do research on the previous 8 contracts and just look for what things we need to do to make sure that those previous ones are following the contracts. So there's a number of different things we were doing. So what Susan and I were asking is, okay, they want us to kind of hold on the work plans components, but we want to just keep doing our due diligence on looking for what we would recommend, so that when it does come back to the work plan, we haven't lost our momentum of what we're currently doing. So we would look for that stuff, put it together, put it to the side, and then when the city council says, okay, bring it back to the work plan, then we can pick up where we have a good stopping spot and then move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I don't see an issue with that. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, as long as you understand those qualifiers, right?
Right.
of what might or might come out of this.
Yeah, and I think part of Daniel's probably shared this with you, Director Eastwood, but part of this is we were going to the council to suggest more Mills Acts. And I think as we look back through the city and what both the city and the county have done in terms of really enforcement and of really review of those applicants, it's kind of the Wild West. So a lot of what we found was, well, there's no way we're going to get back to the council until we have a really tight system to suggest to them that is going to make sure that we don't have a 30-year Mills Act out there where the house is falling apart and nobody's done any work and they're still getting a tax benefit, right? So really trying to put some teeth into the Mills Act, similar to what we just approved today, saying, look, you've got a 10-year thing, and at 10 years, we're going to look, and if all that work's not done, right? You know, if you've done a ton of work and have a ton more to do, you're welcome to apply again. But it is something that there is a, you know, it's not a fire and forget kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, property owners definitely getting a benefit, and for that, there's a commitment they have to follow through. When I came from the county, you know, huge Williamson Act program, similar in concept, very different. But we went out and tracked those properties every year to make sure they're complying with their obligations. So,
and that's one thing that the council wanted us to do. And so we were doing an audit of the existing Mills Act contracts, and we've got information to share. And we also saw that we need to have a better way, better accountability of the existing Mills Acts. And so that's one of the primary reasons that we started doing the research. Gee, how do these other cities in California, how do they monitor? And so that's part of our research too. Look, we want to have a really tight program.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that strategy sounds good. Great.
Great. Well, that's a great update. Thanks again for all the work. And again, I think we've learned, the good news is that we've been working on this for a year before these applicants kind of came forward. I think the bad news is that that we see how we can improve the process, improve the process for the applicants. I know that we had some applicants who are concerned about the, you know, people on the same street having to kind of compete with each other. On the flip side, I do think that I'd much rather look at projects in total so you can compare them versus having, you know, the first one to file, right, gets a benefit. So, but we talked about that. We talked about, you know, having once or twice a year where all the applicants come to us, or there's a deadline where you have to file by this time or have to wait a year. Just different things, ministerial things that other cities do to try to just formalize this. And again, we want there to be a whole lot of people interested in having this benefit. We just want to make sure that, you know, we're not also frustrating our residents in the process because we don't have a lot of them to grant. So I think it's a push-pull, but hopefully, and with these applicants going to the city, that they'll realize the benefits of the program and the benefits of, you know, all the hard work that it takes to maintain these old houses. So. Anything else from the subcommittee?
No, that's
okay. Excellent. Well, I thought that was really helpful. I will bring it back, and we have no other items in old business. So seeing nothing else from everyone, quick meeting today, which is great. So we'll adjourn our board preservation board meeting until July 28th at 5 p.m., which will be done on Zoom. So thank you all, applicants and members of the board and staff, for coming, and hope you have a great rest of your evening.
You as well.
good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
thank you.